Last week I actually did not upload just because it was a long week. There was a lot of things going on. My mind was just it was overworking. My mind was overworking and I felt like I just needed to take a little break. Even though I just started this, but I really do believe like when you take rest, when you give yourself time to just reset, you are able to produce even better results. So here we are, episode 10. And honestly, today's episode is it won't be super long, or I don't think it's gonna be long, but it's a really quick message. And I feel like everything that I share is basically my weekly, daily devotionals, and it's basically where I'm at in my life. Um, and so right now in my stage of life, I'm literally just planting. Right now, I'm in the process of building something for myself. And so because I'm in this season of my life where it's a very humbling season, it's a season where you have to learn, it's a season where you have to pivot, it's a season where you have to be the student. God has been really pouring into me, God has been encouraging me, God has been leading the way. He has been like putting the light every step that I take, which gives me peace and gives me confidence that this is a path I'm supposed to be on. And so because of that, most of the devotionals that I will share will be in relation to what I'm going through, in relation to what I'm trying to figure out. And and I feel like a lot of people, especially in this season of life, we're all just trying to figure out. We're just so this week I was reading Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 7. There in the presence of the Lord your God, you and your families shall eat and shall rejoice in everything you have put your hand to, because the Lord your God has blessed you. And I really like this passage because it was such a great reminder to me. When you're a driven person, you're like a checklist type of person, you have goals that you're trying to accomplish. Sometimes it's easy to hold your breath until you reach those goals, until you get to that point of life for you to actually start to relax, to actually start to enjoy things. And when I read this verse, this passage, God was reminding me that as long as God is with me, as long as I'm in the presence of God. As long as God is watching over you, God is with you in any season of your life, you can relax. You can take a deep breath. You can enjoy what you already have. You can be at peace with what you already have. Because at the end of the day, even when you make it to that place, even when you accomplish all your goals, you're blessed with what you've touched. Everything you've touched has turned into gold. You see the results of everything that you have planted, everything you have invested in. Even when you get to that point, the only thing that will matter is the presence of God. It reminds me of the story of Abraham. And this is when Abraham goes to save his nephew Lot and other kings that were kidnapped. So when Abraham does this, he saves his family and the other kings. The other kings are so grateful, and they tell Abraham like, "Hey, we have all these gifts for you that we want to give you because we're so grateful that you've helped us." And Abraham, he says, "You know what? Just give those gifts to my servants, because I don't want you to think that you made me rich." And the Bible says, as soon as everybody had cleared out, God spoke to Abraham, and God told Abraham, Abraham, I am your great, exceedingly reward. I am your reward. You have me. And if you have me, you have everything. And I think it's so easy to get caught up in the race, to get caught up in your journey to the point you forget that, wait a minute, you have God. And if you have God, you actually have everything you need at the moment. You have God, you have his favor. You're actually blessed. Yes, you may not have this right now. Yes, you may still be you may feel like you're lacking something, but you still have God, and that is the greatest achievement. That is the greatest reward you can ever have. Wherever you are in life, wherever season you find yourself, as long as you have God, as long as God's favor is in your life, you will be okay. The Bible says that the favor of God lasts a lifetime. His anger lasts a very short time, but his favor on you will last a lifetime. When Paul talks about not boasting about anything, but boasting about the love of God, like when I look at that verse, it's so valid, because what can you boast about? What can you actually boast about? The moment you start boasting about your work, you lose it. The moment you start boasting about your relationship, you lose it. The only thing I I'm comfortable about boasting is the favor of God on my life, to the point that it's like whatever season, whether good or bad, I'm always okay. Like it's it's all good. Like even if I have an off day, even if you have an off month, you know you're good because you're favored. At the end of the day, you are favored. And that's something you cannot buy. That's something no one can take from you. It really changes the way you approach life. It changes the way you approach any season. When you look at the story of David, I really love his story because it's like the Bible tries to narrate his whole life, which is very helpful for us who are trying to figure out life, right? And one thing I love about David is every season he was in a season where he was celebrated, season where he was congratulated, he was also in the presence of God. In the season where he was being chased, his life was on the line. He was still in the presence of God. In the moment where he moves into the kingdom, he is the king now. He's still in the presence of God. You look at his life and see why David was so successful, why Daniel was so successful, why Joseph was so successful, because they were always in the presence of God. That is the goal, to be in the presence of God. And if you are in the presence of God, you're good. You will be good, and you are good. You already have everything. And it's interesting because when the Bible in verse 7, when it says that there in the presence of the Lord your God, you and your families shall eat and shall rejoice in everything you have put your hand to, because the Lord your God has blessed you. Everything else is just an addition. Like everything else is just a plus. The main entree is being in the presence of God. You being able to rejoice and eat and flourish in all that God has blessed you with. That's just a by the way. But when you're in the presence of God, that is all that you need. It's a song by Travis Green, and it's called Be Still. And there's a verse that says, everybody's moving, everybody's going someplace, but where they're going, you're not there. Talking about God. And I think it's so important because when you don't include God in the beginning, you don't include God in the foundation of whatever you're building. Because the Bible says, if God is not the foundation, the builders build in vain. If God is not the foundation of your house, it does not matter how lavish your house is. It does not matter how long it took you to build that house. It does not matter the materials you use. It does not matter how tall, it will come tumbling down. And there are people who are rushing, there are people who are heading to a place, they're doing it on their own. They're putting so much time into this, but God is not there. God is not part of the process. God was not there in the beginning. And when they get to the end, when they finally get to that place, the thing that they were hoping for, the relationship that they were hoping for, the job that they were hoping for, the whatever the goal that they were hoping for, they realize that it's not enough. They realize something is missing. And when they look back, they realize they left God miles away.